In this video, we're going to take a look at how to do the sit spin. Okay, so the sit spin is, it kind of gives it away in the name. It's almost like you're sitting on the floor. In this position, we're going to get into a really low position. A good exercise to do before attempting the sit spin is to make sure that you get your teapot. Go and check that out. It's in our basic video section. But make sure you get your teapot nice and confident, because that's going to be exactly the same position that you're going to try and achieve in this sit spin. So once you've achieved your teapot and you're nice and confident over that one, which should be something, in a similar position to really get nice and low with that foot straight out in front of you and your left knee really bending. It's almost more than a 90-degree angle at the knee. You want your upper leg wants to be parallel with the ice, which means the knee and the ankle have to be really bent in order for this part of your leg to be completely parallel with the ice here. So then our entrance for the sit spin is exactly the same as the upright spin. So the same entry for mostly all of the spins that we're going to do until we start getting to back entries. But for now, think about the sit spin as exactly the same entry. So you do it from your back of crossovers. You've got your back of crossovers, your wind up, and your entrance. Now, after your entrance is where things start to change between the upright spin and the sit spin. With the sit spin, everything's going to come around similar to the upright spin. Your right leg and your right arm will be coming around together, except once they come around, you'll be getting into a nice low position. Now, it's not quite as simple as I'm making it sound. A few other things you have to think about. So with this sit spin, one of the key things I want you to think about is when you're going in on that entrance edge, you should have a much bigger knee bend. You want it much lower to the ice here. And the upright spin, you're going to be slightly up here still with a knee bend, but on the sit spin, you're going to think about getting it lower. And then concentrate on, once you get to the end of your entrance edge and you hit your toe pick, keeping that knee bent. You don't want to rise up and then go into your sit spin. I see a lot of people going in with a nice deep knee bend, get to the spin, lift up, and then try and drop back down. There's too much movement there. You don't want all of that movement. You want to keep in that same position and just let your right leg and your right arm come around the left leg that is already in that bent position. So I'm going to try and talk you through a slow motion sit spin as I do it. So we've got the back crossovers, you've got your nice wind up position, you're stepping with a bent knee, and your leg comes around into that sit spin position. So notice where my leg and my arms were in that sit spin position. My leg was out in front of me with my toe slightly turned out. I've seen a few people do it with turned in toe, but I think it looks a little nicer with the turned out foot. It also allows you to get your knees together a lot easier. I think it looks a lot nicer when your knees are together, but it also helps keep your balance when you keep the top parts of your legs together. And especially try and think about just linking the knees up to make it a little bit easier to try and keep those feet together. Now let's take a look at what the arms are doing. So again, we've concentrated from our opening position on our entrance edge with our left arm in front and our right arm behind. As we get to the spin, the left arm stays in front, the right arm comes around and joins the left arm there. So it's going to end up in front of you. Now there are different variations that you can try in the sit spin. You always want to make sure that this right arm comes around wide and joins in front. Now from then on in, you can either keep them out in front of you, you can place them on your skating leg. I wouldn't place them on your free leg, the one that's off the floor, because if you put weight on that right side and it pushes you down, then you might lose your balance on it. So you've got one of two options really for me, is keeping the arms out in front or keeping one or both arms on the skating leg that you're standing on. When you're in your sit spin position and you're spinning, always try and keep your head in front of you facing forward. You don't want it looking up, and you definitely don't want it looking down at your feet. You want to try and keep it in a neutral position, especially when you're starting out, just to keep your balance. So if you've got some white boards around the side of the rink, try and keep focus on those. Try and keep your eyes traveling around the white boards around the rink. Okay, some common mistakes that I want to talk about, I already mentioned one of them earlier on in the video, is that when I see people get to the end of their entrance edge, so you finished your entrance edge on a nice bent knee, I see a lot of people rise up and then go back down into the sit spin. I would personally not do that because I think it's too much movement. You don't need to go up and then back down, but I do see it quite commonly. I would just keep that bent knee. Once you're in that position, stay there and bring that leg and the arm around it into that nice sit spin position. So another common mistake I see is it's not technically a sit spin, as I mentioned, unless your upper leg is parallel to the ice. So if you're any higher than that, and you know, your butt sticking up in the air here, it's not a sit spin position. You want to think about really pushing your butt down close to the ice so you can get that flat position with that lower leg. But in order to counterbalance the whole of your backside of your part of your body going down, you need to make sure you lean forward in the upper body. Now be aware that doesn't mean curving in the back. You want to keep your back as straight as possible in the sit spin position with the head up, but your chest and your stomach and bending at the hips allows you to go forward without getting into that arch position. That's a big no-no. If you do happen to find yourself really trying to sit your backside down and you don't lean forward enough, what you will find is when you're spinning, you'll catch your heel and you hear a noise that something like that as you go to spin, and that's when you know that you're catching the whole part of this part of the blade right here, and there's too much of the blade. As mentioned before, on that upright spin, you want to be spinning on about an inch of the blade right up here on the ball of your foot. So in order to get your balance there, when your backside goes down, you need to keep your weight forward in order to counterbalance that. So maybe now you've achieved the entrance, maybe you've achieved the sit spin. Now maybe the difficult part for you is getting up. So here's some tricks and tips on how to get up from the sit spin. So you're in a very low position on that left foot and you want to try and get up on that left foot, not putting your right down before you get up into the upright spin. So you want to make sure that you can either, if you have the leg strength, try and keep your arms out in this position and straight push up using your left foot. If you don't find that you have the leg strength in order to do that, try putting those two hands on your left leg, but pushing directly down onto that left leg, not sideways or forwards or backwards, over that left leg so you can push yourself straight up into that upright position. So you end up coming from your sit spin nice and low, arms on your lip, and push up into the upright position and finish off with a nice landing. So last thing to think about from your sit spin is you finished it by coming up into a small upright. Make sure you still finish off with a nice landing position to finish off the move, as with most moves that we will learn in this basic exercise.